Work is resuming today in ports on the East Coast and in the Gulf. This comes after the dockworkers strike, which began earlier this week, was suspended until January. The work stoppage began when 45,000 U.S. dockworkers walked off the job. Late yesterday, their union and the US Maritime Alliance reached a tentative agreement on wages. Many feared had the strike continued, it would have led to shortages of daily items and skyrocketing prices. And for analysis, we turn now to Patrick Penfield, professor of practice supply chain management at Syracuse University in New York. Professor Penfield, great to have you on the show. We appreciate it. So let's talk more about this compromise and how it was reached. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, first off, great to be here, Tracy. So the compromise or the agreement was reached last night. So late last night. So again, the International Longshoremen Association and the Maritime Association got together and hammered out an agreement. But this is, again, just a kind of a temporary agreement. So all they've done is they've kind of postponed the finalization of the agreement until January. But for the most part, it's basically a done deal.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, a lot of concern. I mean, it was only 3 days that the strike lasted, but still some repercussions. Talk to us about that and, kind of what happens with all those goods that were piled up for the past few days.
Yeah, so that's the unfortunate thing when you have an issue like that. It's basically about $5 billion in economic activity that's basically lost, each day that the strike was going on. So what happens for every day of a strike, Tracy, it's about 5 days of supply chain disruption. And so that's kind of what's going to be going on for probably the next week, 2 weeks, is just trying to get through all that stuff that's there. So there are a bunch of ships that are queued outside the ports. There's containers at the ports. So it's more or less cleanup right now. So they've got to go through and try to, get what they need to get to, to their customers.
Yeah, and there was a lot of panic on consumers' parts. A lot of people going out and kind of, buying things up at the store because they were afraid this was going to last too long. Can you talk a little bit more about that and kind of the panic buying caused by this?
Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. So this is, we haven't seen this since the pandemic, right? So, during the pandemic, I think this, for the most part, for most of us, that was really our first, exposure to panic buying with the toilet paper. So I think it's one of those things from a psychological standpoint where people feel like they want to be able to control things. And so one of those things is, hey, if I can buy enough supplies to last, in case this situation carries on, then, that's what they're going to do. And so unfortunately, when you see somebody buying, an extra package of toilet paper or another, box of water, you go ahead and turn and do the same. And so then it causes this major issue, a major problem from a demand and supply standpoint. So I'm glad that, this is over. So, we don't have to go through that situation where there's no toilet paper or paper towels or water on the shelves. So I think for the most part, it's a good thing right now.
Yeah, and real quick before we let you go, any big takeaways from all of this?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is again just how important the ports are to us here in the United States, and really it's kind of a situation where, again, if you have one party or the other where there's an issue or problem, it can impact the whole economic activity in the United States. So I'm glad that we won't have to talk about this probably for another 6 years, at least on this side of the United States. But again, it's important, and I'm glad both parties, came to somewhat of an agreement.
Yeah, and the supply chain is so important. We really don't think about it until something like this happens. Professor Penfield, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Tracy. Have a great evening.